What would you do if you witnessed someone being hurt in public? Would you intervene, walk away, pretend you didn't see? This is the story of a quiet afternoon in a Chicago retail store. A woman in pain, a stranger mopping floors, and the moment 3 whispered words changed everything. Sometimes heroes don't wear capes, sometimes they wear janitor uniforms. It was a Tuesday afternoon at Luxe department store in downtown Chicago. One of those upscale shops where a single purse costs more than most people's monthly rent. The store was moderately busy. Well-dressed shoppers browsed designer clothing. Sales associates glided between racks with practiced smiles. Soft piano music played overhead, and in the corner near the dressing rooms, a maintenance worker mopped the marble floors. Nobody paid him any attention. That's the thing about service workers. They become invisible. People look right through them as if they're part of the furniture. The man mopping was probably in his 50s, wearing a gray maintenance uniform with Mike embroidered on the chest. He worked slowly, methodically, keeping his head down. His name wasn't really Mike. It was Marcus Chen. And he wasn't really a maintenance worker. He was the CEO of the entire retail chain that owned Luxe department store. 23 locations across 8 states, valued at over $400 million. But for the past 3 months, Marcus had been going undercover in his own stores. Different locations, different roles: janitor, stock clerk, cashier. He wanted to see what was really happening at ground level, wanted to understand his employees' experiences, wanted to know the truth his corporate reports couldn't tell him. Today was his last day undercover. Tomorrow he'd return to his corner office. But first, he had one more shift to complete. He was mopping near the designer handbag section when he heard it. A woman's voice, quiet, strained, scared. "Please stop. You're hurting me." Marcus looked up, still holding the mop. About 20 feet away, near a display of evening gowns, stood a couple. The woman was maybe 30, elegantly dressed in a cream-colored suit. The man with her was older, 45 or so, wearing an expensive watch and designer shoes. To anyone casually passing by, they looked like a wealthy couple shopping together. But Marcus saw what others didn't. The man's hand was wrapped around the woman's upper arm. His grip was tight, so tight that her skin was white around his fingers. His face was close to hers, his jaw clenched. "Don't embarrass me," the man hissed, just loud enough for Marcus to hear. "You'll wear what I tell you to wear. Now smile and act normal." The woman's eyes were bright with unshed tears, but she nodded. "I'm sorry, I just thought." "You don't think. That's the problem." His grip tightened. "I think. You obey. Understand?" "You're hurting me," she whispered again, trying to pull her arm away. "Good. Maybe it'll help you. Remember your place." Marcus felt rage flood through him. But he'd been in business long enough to know that charging in without a plan could make things worse. He needed to be strategic. He pushed his mop bucket closer, pretending to clean the area near where they stood. The man glanced at him with barely concealed contempt. "Excuse me, we're shopping here. Can you clean somewhere else?" Marcus kept his head down, his voice humble. "Sorry, sir. Just doing my job. I'll be quick." He continued mopping, positioning himself between the couple and the exit, close enough to hear, close enough to act if needed. The woman caught his eye for just a second, a silent plea. "Help me." Marcus gave the tiniest nod. "I see you." The man pulled the woman toward the register, still gripping her arm. "We're buying this dress, the red one. You'll wear it to the benefit on Friday, and you'll smile and play the perfect wife." "Richard, please, I don't like red. Can we just—" His voice dropped to a venomous whisper. "If you contradict me one more time in public, you'll regret it when we get home. Now smile." Marcus had seen enough. He straightened up, still holding his mop, and walked directly toward them. "Excuse me, sir," Marcus said, his voice still humble but firm. "I'm going to need you to release her arm." Richard turned, his face twisted with irritation. "What did you just say to me?" "I said release her arm, now." Richard laughed, a cold, cruel sound. "Are you serious right now? Do you know who I am? I'm Richard Ashford. My family has shopped at this store for 3 generations. And you're a janitor telling me what to do?" "I'm not telling you as a janitor," Marcus said quietly. "I'm telling you as a human being who just watched you hurt someone. Let her go." Other shoppers were starting to notice. A sales associate hurried over, looking panicked. "Sir, I'm so sorry," she said to Richard, shooting a nervous glance at Marcus. "Please, let me help you. Mike should probably call security," Richard snapped. "I want this man fired immediately." But Marcus didn't move. His eyes stayed on the woman. "Ma'am, are you okay?" She opened her mouth, then closed it. Fear flickered across her face. "She's fine," Richard said. "She's my wife, and this is none of your business." "It became my business when you hurt her in my presence." Marcus's voice was still calm, but there was steel underneath. "I'm asking you one last time. Release her, or I will call the police." Richard's face flushed red. "You'll call the police? On me? Do you have any idea how much money I spend here? One phone call and you'll never work in this city again." Marcus smiled, a small, knowing smile. "One phone call is all it would take. You're right about that." He pulled out his phone, but instead of dialing 911, he called a different number. "Jennifer, it's Marcus Chen. I need security to Lux downtown immediately. And I need you to pull up the account for Richard Ashford. Yes, I'll hold." Richard's confident expression began to crack. "Wait, did you just say Marcus Chen?" The sales associate gasped. Other employees who'd gathered started whispering. "Marcus Chen, the CEO, here, in a janitor's uniform." "That's impossible," Richard said, but his voice had lost its certainty. "Marcus Chen doesn't work in stores, he's—" "Right here," Marcus finished. "I've been working undercover for 3 months, learning how my stores really operate, how my employees are treated, how customers behave when they think no one important is watching." He looked directly at Richard. "And what I've witnessed in the last 5 minutes is unacceptable. In my store, we don't tolerate abuse. Not toward employees, not toward customers, not toward anyone." Richard's grip on his wife's arm had loosened. She pulled away, rubbing the red marks he'd left. "Sir, I apologize," Richard said, his tone completely changed. "I didn't realize—" "You didn't realize someone was watching who could hold you accountable," Marcus interrupted. "That's the problem. You thought you could hurt your wife. Because I was just a janitor, someone beneath you, someone who didn't matter." Security arrived. 2 officers Marcus recognized from corporate events. Their eyes widened when they saw him in the maintenance uniform, but they stayed professional. "Escort Mr. Ashford out of the store," Marcus said. "He's permanently banned from all Lux locations. If he returns, he'll be arrested for trespassing." "You can't do this," Richard sputtered. "My family has been—" Your family's money doesn't buy you the right to abuse people. Marcus's voice was hard now. Your account is closed. Your memberships are revoked. You're done here. As security walked Richard toward the exit, Marcus turned to the woman. She stood frozen, tears now flowing freely down her face. "Ma'am," Marcus said gently, his voice completely different now. "My name is Marcus. What's yours?" "Catherine," she whispered. "Catherine Ashford." "Catherine, you don't have to go with him. We can call someone for you, a friend, family, a shelter, whatever you need." She looked at him with wide, disbelieving eyes. "Why are you helping me?" "Because it's the right thing to do, and because I know what it's like to feel powerless." Marcus guided Catherine to a quiet corner of the store and asked an employee to bring water and tissues. 25 years ago, Marcus said quietly, "I watched my mother live with a man who hurt her. I was just a kid, 13 years old. I saw the bruises she tried to hide, heard the things he said to make her feel worthless, watched her shrink into someone I barely recognized." Catherine listened, holding the glass of water with shaking hands. "I didn't know how to help her. I was too young, too scared. And she stayed because she thought she had to, because he convinced her she had nowhere else to go." Marcus's voice grew thick with emotion. "She died when I was 16. The official report has said it was an accident. She fell down the stairs, but I knew, everyone knew, and nobody did anything." He looked directly at Catherine. "I swore that day that I would never stand by and watch someone be hurt if I had the power to stop it, not ever again. So when I saw what was happening to you, there was no question. I had to act." Catherine broke down completely. "I don't know how to leave. I don't have money of my own. He controls everything. My family doesn't speak to me anymore. He drove them away years ago. I have nowhere to go." "Yes, you do," Marcus said firmly. "And you have resources. I'm going to help you." Within an hour, Marcus had made a series of phone calls. First, to his personal attorney, one who specialized in domestic violence cases. She agreed to represent Catherine pro bono, funded by Marcus personally. Second, to a women's shelter he'd supported for years. They had a private room available immediately, safe, secure, undisclosed location. Third, to the head of his company's HR department. Catherine had a background in marketing before Richard made her quit her job. Lux had an opening in their corporate marketing team. If she wanted it, the job was hers, salary, benefits, independence. "I can't accept all of this," Catherine protested. "It's too much. I don't deserve." "Stop," Marcus said gently. "That's his voice in your head, not yours. You deserve safety. You deserve dignity. You deserve a chance to rebuild." The shelter sent someone to pick Catherine up. Before she left, she hugged Marcus, a desperate, grateful embrace. "Thank you," she whispered. "You saved my life today." "No," Marcus said. "I just gave you the tools. You're the one who has to save yourself. And you will. I believe in you." As Catherine left with the shelter advocate, Marcus stood in his gray janitor uniform in the middle of his flagship store and felt something he hadn't felt in years. Purpose, real purpose. Not the purpose that came from profits and expansion. The purpose that came from using power to protect someone who had none. The next day, Marcus returned to his corporate office, but he didn't come back the same man who'd left 3 months ago. He'd learned things during his undercover time that no boardroom report could have shown him. He'd seen how employees were treated when managers thought no one was watching. He'd witnessed the daily indignities service workers endured. He'd experienced firsthand what it meant to be invisible. And he'd seen abuse happen in plain sight, while dozens of people walked by and did nothing. His first act as CEO after returning was to implement new company-wide training. Every employee, from janitors to executives, would go through domestic violence awareness training. They'd learn the signs, learn how to intervene safely, learn about resources. Every Lux store now partnered with local women's shelters. Discreet signs in the bathrooms provided hotline numbers and safe words customers could use if they needed help. Marcus established the Catherine Fund, a foundation providing emergency grants to people escaping abusive relationships. Money for security deposits, attorney fees, job training, childcare, whatever barriers stood between victims and freedom. In the first year, the fund helped 247 people escape dangerous situations. Catherine thrived in her new role at Lux. She started in marketing but discovered a passion for the company's social responsibility initiatives. Within 2 years, she was directing the entire Catherine Fund, helping others the way she'd been helped. Her divorce from Richard was ugly but swift. The attorney Marcus provided was excellent. Catherine walked away with enough to start over completely. She never remarried, but she rebuilt herself into someone stronger than she'd ever been. 3 years after that day in the store, Marcus gave a speech at a conference on corporate social responsibility. He told Catherine's story with her permission, and he talked about what he'd learned. "I was undercover because I wanted to understand my business better," he said. "But what I learned had nothing to do with profit margins or customer satisfaction scores. I learned that we see what we choose to see." He paused, looking out at the audience of business leaders. "When I was dressed as a janitor, I was invisible. People looked right through me, spoke about me as if I wasn't human, dismissed me without a second thought. But that invisibility gave me a superpower. I could see the truth. I could see how people behaved when they thought no one important was watching." Marcus's voice grew stronger, and what I saw was that abuse happens every day in public places while dozens of people walk by, because we've been conditioned to mind our own business, to not get involved, to assume someone else will help. He looked directly at the camera, recording the speech. "I'm here to tell you, you are the someone else. When you witness harm, in your store, your office, your neighborhood, anywhere, you have a choice. You can be invisible and do nothing, or you can be visible and do something." The room was silent. You don't need to be a CEO to make a difference. You just need to be willing to see people who've been made invisible, and to act when action is needed. Today, Catherine runs the Catherine Fund full-time. She's helped thousands of people escape abuse. She speaks at schools, conferences, and shelters about her experience. And she always tells the same story about the janitor who wasn't a janitor, about the man who could have walked away but didn't, about 3 words that changed everything. "Please stop, you're hurting me." She says those words saved her life. Not because they stopped Richard in that moment, they didn't, but because someone finally heard them and acted. Marcus still goes undercover occasionally, not in his own stores anymore, that secret's out, but in other places, homeless shelters, community centers, anywhere he can learn what it means to be truly seen and truly invisible. He and Catherine are friends. They text regularly. She sends him updates on the people the fund has helped. He sends her encouragement when the work gets heavy. "You gave me my life back," she told him once. "No," he replied. "I just reminded you that you had one worth living. You did the rest." Someone around you right now is being hurt. Maybe not physically, maybe emotionally, psychologically, financially, but they're being hurt, and they're whispering for help in ways you might not recognize. The question is, will you see them? Will you hear them? Will you act? You don't need wealth or power to help. You just need to pay attention, to be willing to intervene, to believe that one person acting can change everything. Marcus wasn't a superhero. He was just someone who refused to be invisible when it mattered most. Be that person. See the people others overlook. Hear the whispers others ignore. Act when action is needed. Because somewhere, someone is whispering, "Please stop, you're hurting me," and you might be the only one listening. If this story moved you, please share it. Someone needs to know they're not invisible. The Catherine Fund is real and accepting donations to help people escape abuse. Subscribe for more true stories that prove one person can change everything. And remember, you are never too small to make a difference. You just have to choose to see.